wasn't happy with me. Um, if I had a girlfriend, but if I hadn't been exposed to women, just women that have been in my home, around me, or near me throughout my life, I would never know how disgusting they are. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't have made it up in my mind. Oh, I think women are disgusting, because I just like thinking bad things about women. I never, my whole life as a writer, I've only ever written about things that I've seen and experienced, because that's what you should write about. And I wouldn't think anything bad about women. In fact, I started life wanting to think the best about them, except for how they behave when they're around me. So that's kind of interesting. Read about women, you want to think nice things about women, the sacred feminine. And I don't think all women represent the sacred feminine, but just the way they behave, like, it tells you that they're pretty sick, and they're pretty degenerate people who are used to basically fucking anyone they want. And fucking with, they're not particularly particular, right? Oh, they're disgusting. Oh, I mean, I don't think their husbands even realize it. No. Hey ho! Look at that. We got some sun now. What's that river doing? Hey ho! Hey ho! I don't see any people. Sometimes I see a lone figure standing by the river, contemplating their watery thoughts. But yeah, I was here one day. I've said this story many times. I'll say it again. And over there was a woman with her dog, and they were stalking me. No doubt about it. You know when you're being hunted. You know. And I know, women, what you do when you're hunting people, when you're hunting men like me. And you're filled with righteousness and rage because I've invaded your territory. I said no to you. Oh, it says no to someone with a vagina. Don't you know that? People with vaginas never have to hear or understand the word no because they have that slit. Check for the slit and then never use a negative again. Don't be negative. Don't use any contractions. You can't use any negative words. Women can never be rapists. They can never sexually assault. They have total, complete immunity from any suggestion of ever being sexually on any level. And they never have to accept the word no. Now, as long as you understand that, men and boys, it's fun. And women are surprised when men don't like them and treat them badly. I used to sexually assault my father all the time. All the time. She would talk shit about him when he wasn't around. She talks shit about him still. And she convinced herself that she loves him, right? I love my mom, but I don't think she's ever loved my dad. She never talks well of him on any level. But thankfully, and I could somewhat see that on both their parts. I can kind of philosophize. And I think they gave each other the best years of each of their lives. Children, those should be the best years of your life, right? And continuing, and they should remain valuable. Like, the best years of your life don't go away. They're the ones that should stay with you. And when those good times or those best times don't stay with you, you've been deprived of something very sweet and very true. And you could walk through this world, you can have clothes, you could have a bed at night, and feel deprived of something, right? And we mourn that, and we grieve that. And you grieve that. If somehow, out there, mothers and fathers, you manage to deprive each other, or the man to the wife, or the wife to the man, whichever way you see it, you all ended up being deprived of something else that you might have deserved. And it was inevitable. Because it's inevitable. When it happens and where it's happened, it says inevitable, inevitable, inevitable. Right? That's why I'm surprised when people study World War I and II that they don't see it as inevitable. Wars don't happen by accident. It's not because some Baron von Montstrauven was assassinated by Corpus von Crispy, right? Or Rice Krispie Special. That does not cause a war. Even if that did happen, that wouldn't itself cause anything. You understand? You got to stop thinking that way. Wars and any violence, let alone a war, is inevitable. You have to look into the structures of that society. So, for instance, who fights wars? Who do you need to fight a war? You need children. No, you don't need fighting men and women. You need children to fight your wars. Children have to be taught to be soldiers. And that tells us what we're still doing to them. You see, you're teaching children to be soldiers. That's what this 20th century tells us, right? War and violence is inevitable, right? The children around here, they're still soldiers. They don't have any wars to fight. But they do have wars to fight, politically, economically, with the opposite sex. They don't even realize it. Men are in danger in terms of the war that women grow up fighting. And they go to work, they're fighting that war. And they go home, they're fighting that war. Wars were inevitable in part because we trained all the people in that war to be soldiers. Who did you have? Who has those children? Educators. That means teachers were necessary for World War I and II. Laura Ingalls motherfuckers were necessary for World War I and II. Women who do what they're told, who we think are supposed to be caring, motherly people, and whom children forgive infinitely, telling other people's children what to do and exposing them and subjecting them to deprivation therapy. And males as well, right? Okay, deprivation therapy, punitive and negative reinforcement, right? And that's what the school system is, right? You're a prisoner. You're being detained. It's all negative reinforcement. Someone tied this together. There's a string here. I wonder why they did that. That's interesting. There's some bedding. Wow, you got sunlight. Look at that. That's pretty cool. Back over here. Hey ho, and all of that thing, all of that thing, all of that thing. House through there? Am I seeing a house? It looks like structure to me. Yeah. Hey ho, and I say hey ho. So now caffeine and marijuana meet to last today. And I've walked around the island a couple times. I'll probably go back and take another before I go home today. I don't think it's quite noon. It hasn't really struck quite noon yet. I've been pretty in my day. It's pretty neat to be able to come here. It's pretty neat. I have the whole area to myself. But yeah, so turtle medicine has been talking to me. You're protected. We have built-in protection. But Gnosis, which is the rune that kind of says not this, Gnosis, which is kind of like a topsy-turvy crucifix in a way, is about sufficiency and deprivation, and that there are parts of our protection that we may often end up learning about in precisely the areas where we're being hurt the most. You can say to yourself, well, you were only hurt so much. It could have been worse. What could have been worse? And it's like, in the most violence I've ever suffered, believe it or not, it could have been worse. I could imagine worse. Like, my mom has been quite violent to me. We could be completely estranged right now. I could be in prison, for killing her or something, I'm not saying I would. I understand why people kill their mothers, right? Who are possessed by devils when they're drunk and do awful things to them and conspire with other people after, no matter how many times these people plead with them, stop, please stop, please stop, please stop, because a woman, when she becomes righteous and enraged, doesn't hear the word no. And you see that there are differences in the gender, how uninhibited we can be, for instance, under the sort of semi-social justification of being upset. And how do women behave when they're upset? And how do men behave when they're upset? When my mom is upset, she poisons my blood. When I'm upset, I simply have a discussion with her. Hey, you don't need to be that way. And I'm actually the mature one. I'm the parent in that situation, right? And then I have to deal with blood poisoning. And if she poisons me enough, right, I can keep it to a minute, but if she poisons me enough, I can get seriously ill. And I can have accident and injury. So I've had a couple semi-accidents today, nothing serious, but, spilling a drink, this, that, and the other. But making the pentagram sort of purified me. And the sun coming out. So I've helped the sun come out today. As a witch, you're welcome. Because a lot of look at those are all chemtrails. They don't want the sun to come out. And we're pushing it out. We're pulling it and pushing. And it's just happening. It's beautiful. I feel like a blue heron. I feel like a blue heron. Hey ho, and hey ho, ho ho. Hey ho, hey 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 ho, hey hey hey. Look at all this stuff. All this from that massive flooding. Hey ho, hey, hey. The guy's staring at me. Right, just staring at me. Right, until I looked at him, made the gesture of hello, and he just walked away. It's like creepy. I see the kinds of people. Hey ho, hello, hey ho. Ah, I got some people, other white people talking. I mean, what happens when you get a couple white people? You have a cult. It's like an occult. And hey ho. But you can feel it too. You can feel it in your blood. I'm very sensitive, right? Hey ho. Hey ho. Hey ho. Hey ho. Hey 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 ho. Hey hey ho. Hey. Look at how this stone actually kind of faces the sun. Right? And they all have to stare. Hey, hey, ho. Look at that. Hey, hey, ho. Hey, hey. So that was the meeting, energy fluctuation in my energy field. In the meeting of two white males, both of whom have glared at me a few times. It doesn't mean it's me. The one is a little more harmless than the other. But they're impotent and creepy. The locals. Right? If you went to any river in the world and just hung out like me, singing to yourself and enjoying the first sun we've had in weeks, quite frankly. The first sun we've had in weeks. Right? Look at these stones. Look at how they're getting lit up by the sun. Beautiful eddies, trees. The bank has changed. A lot of these people will never see this bank from here. Not all of their lives, not all of their retirement will never see the river from this perspective. They'll walk here and walk here. We'll never see from this side. And there's so many beautiful places to go to see the river from the side. And let's go around here. I'm gonna go walk this way through the island again. But yeah, there's like an energy fluctuation you can feel. It doesn't mean it's open out malicious, but it's not good. Right? Once one white person doesn't feel all that great about you, and they talk to someone else and maybe not feel that great about you, what do you think that feels like? They're not thinking, and they don't have to think about what that might feel like to another person. Right? When I'm with my mom and we're at Starbucks and she's staring at someone, I always tell her, she's like, I say, don't stare, but like there's a person over there, and she'll just go stare at them. Right? Because you can notice people. It's okay to notice things, right? And I say, Mom, don't stare. Everyone in this line is staring at them. Stop it. It doesn't feel good. It's not good for the person, whether they notice or not. It's not good for them. Right? And she kind of gets it. Because I think a lot of people who don't walk around or aren't out exposed in nature, and see, there's that guy. I just see him disappearing. So you got another look at him. Isn't that interesting? You see, I'm a pretty cool animal. I can prey on the predators. It's like I see them. I think, if anything, they're just picking up on the fact that I'm a pretty wily animal. I'm very instinctual. They're not just seeing some random homeless people walking around out here. This is a determined, intelligent man. And to add more to the danger in their system, I don't seem gainfully employed, because no one is supposed to have as much time to do this as I do. But I've made time. Just like you make time for all this. I made time for this. I pay my dues. I've made time for this. Right? Oh, look at this beautiful branch. That's very circular, isn't it? I'm going to have to resist the urge to go and bring it to my pentagram. I am going to resist the urge because I don't want to be carrying it. I'm happy with the way it is. But that's the thing. It's like, oh, of course, it's like, it's okay. It's not the most perfectly round branch. Look at this. Woo! And no sooner am I talking about bringing out sun and how the local vampires don't like it. I realize it. I know you can attribute anything you want to the unconscious of human beings, but, Jung opened the door to doing it. Occult psychology, group psychology says that without going overboard and saying, you have moral agency for the way I think you and your people behave toward me because I don't feel good. But that doesn't mean they're not making you feel bad, right? You just say, hey, I'm talking about bringing out the sun. You don't know all what that means. I don't know all what that means. And then all of a sudden, predatory white people are around, behaving as though unconsciously malicious to me on some level, right? Because I'm enjoying the sun. Look at these prints. What do you think that is? As he looks up to see a bear. They're very close together, but they're big, and I don't think those are dog paws. And I saw a few others. I don't think there's a bear here. I think I would have run into it by now. I see these very, could be a young bear. I don't know enough about, it's not human. It's not a deer. So what is it? Okay, they're coming from over here, over here, over here. Now, what else could it be? A beaver? No. Raccoon? No. Something with feet that big, with digits, is most likely a bear. But where are they now, is the question. Okay, let's keep going. Yeah, it is a good question. It's a really good question. If it is a bear, which I don't know what else to attribute it to. So I saw one or two yesterday when I was over there. But I think I would have seen a bear if there was one out here. But famous last words. They don't really hurt you or anything. You just don't really want to get too mixed up with them if you're afraid, which I usually am. Well, I would be, really. I mean, I have such awful, you might say, evil impressions of human beings throughout my life. In fact, I've cultivated it in so much as I've allowed myself a lot of time, and I've made the time to talk about how I feel about everything. And what I discovered was learning about sexual abuse, bullying, that I hadn't really even thought about very much. That's been happening to me from certain kinds of people since I was a child, including and especially white women. I'm now in my 50s, and it's like they're still the same. They've been making these people for generations, and they're creepy, right? And you just never want to see them. Doesn't matter if I'm on a ferry, doesn't matter if I care, doesn't matter if I'm at college. These people would give you a death sentence with a smile on their face. Something just doesn't connect in their minds while they're doing their job. And when people are doing their jobs, regardless of whether they have a uniform or not, they tend to kind of dial in or channel perverse energy and lowered inhibitions. And as much as their people have been doing a while, they tend to be in this personality complex, either at any time or upon any provocation. They can become the school marm, right? They can become a predator. But you'll notice women never talk about women being predators. I think more women would talk about it, being preyed upon or this, that, yeah. But they don't do that. Oh. Yeah. Huh. I'm gonna take my breathing is very cleansing voice. Strengthens your energy field, but also brings out peace, invasions, anxiety. Now they're really talking. And I've seen men and women who have a pretty good masculine energy, and they'll find me and they'll pray. Right? Let's keep going. I think there's more sun to be had. This tree is actually alive, but I think these branches are all dead. There's always a sort of trepidation that I walk along here after encountering a menacing white male of any kind. It's then with trepidation that I continue to walk, so that lowers my safety level a little bit. Because again, I've had white people take this just nominal kind of stalking behavior to various degrees. The energy that is, we don't want you to be around here. This is our place. We've lived here for X number of years. I've lived here for 15 years. I think I'm local. But because there's a river between us, because they haven't seen me before, they lower their inhibitions. This is how they interact with strangers. Do you really want them speaking for your community? Right? How many people get the evil eye from these degenerate males and females? From the races? Because they just haven't had their poop to do it. You know? That's nice. I always think you should always feel safe walking around, but you shouldn't have to go into a total magical state of denial to feel safe. I want to be able to notice that there's malicious energy, but still feel safe. Right? So I can see something twinkling over there. There might be somebody watching me. We'll see. I'll keep moving that way. Nice. Wow, it's a beautiful picture. Very peaceful. And there's something metallic catching my eye. It's not moving. Shh. Shh. It's funny if someone's there, if some other people come along and they start talking, so just wait here for a second. I don't know if I suspect suspect it's there. It'll be there. It's probably better to turn your attention away. Because some of the people around here are kind of stocky, as you can hear. Look at that. Just chemtraily. It almost looks like they're putting like oil in the sky. Oh, you know what? I lost my gloves yesterday and I just randomly found them. I just found the gloves I lost. My mom is going to be absolutely stupefied. And they're still warm. They're still dry. So following that, whatever that reflection was, I randomly found my gloves that I lost. So awesome. Okay. I don't know what that reflective light was or whatever. Oh, I love finding things. Uh-huh. So, completion. That's amazing. I forgot I'd lost some gloves and I found them. Like, Mom, I just went to a random place in the park. I found the gloves I lost. Oh, good for you, son. There's no intelligence to that whatsoever. So, if I was doing something really destructive in all the thoughts that I've been sharing in the video today, do you think I would have had the support on finding my gloves? Right? Or they've just been sitting there like a present right at my feet. No, probably not. Nature doesn't mind my decisions. Humans do. Humans can have trouble with what I'm saying, but creatures, animals, don't. You know, that's where I get my support from nature. I listen to what people tell me, and that is the thing. I listen. I've watched. I'm pretty good with body language, although I can see my people get a bit numb because it's a lot to take in when you listen to an emotional body, and so we go into paralysis. A lot of people, they lose what are called the neurotic symptoms of that paralysis, or that asphyxiation, kind of an anoxia, compared to the full articulation of the natural instincts of a child. And subsequent to this, humans enter into sociopathic role in the world. What a couple of really beautiful stones down there. What a sacred place to stand. And we go on. So we discuss this. We're discussing then in the demonic and the vampirical and the various dominions and bad uses and witchcraft and the designed use of many languages to help people prey on people in the name of any pretext, and so on and so on. We're talking about these things, all these things. so glad I found my gloves. I'm whole again. I am cold. Really cold. Look at that, sun's coming up for the first time in weeks. I feel very proud of myself. Pentagram, and I pulled out the sun. Let's go get some more of it. What do you say? Let's go enjoy the sun today. Hey ho, what did you say? Let's go enjoy the sun today. Hey ho, what you gonna do? Oh, the sun today. Oh, hey, what you gonna say? We're gonna enjoy that sun today. Boom, 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 boom. Look at, right? Hundreds of square acres, and I found the glove that was. What do you say? We're gonna enjoy the sun today. Hey, well, what do you say? We're gonna enjoy that sun today. We're gonna make a silly song. How long our dingus really is. My dingus is really so long. Don't try to touch it, it's much too strong. My dingus is so very. Don't try to touch it, it's much too strong. My fantasy is just being in the back seat with a couple of young women, you know, just being enthralled by my rock hard penis. Like, ejaculation at that point is imminent. And it's just, I would never do that. It's just, I don't know why. That's the thing that does it for me. I mean, go figure. I like the idea of a couple of young women enjoying my rock hard cock. And let me do that for you kind of a, hi. 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Making a sign of Lagoos, a sign of Wendell, and whoa, 2 of them coming across, signaling the number 2, so fears. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pentagram 2 complete, pentagram complete. Flying around, make one, make Lagoos again. Thurzaz, Wendell. We're flying around making different forms. Nice. Ursa Major. Nice. I did a lot of speak around. Hey ho, what did you say? I'm gonna do it. Oh, I can feel the sun in my head. This is good stuff. Let's have some coconut chips. This is a big log, man. This thing here over the flood season